For some local school board members, there is such a thing as a free lunch. Dinner and breakfast, too.
Just months ago, the Montgomery County School Board cut up their taxpayer-funded credit cards amid controversy over pricey meals. Well, now the News 4 I-team has found another local school board swiping their cards for some pricey purchases. As Scott MacFarlane shows us, some of the charges are just minutes from their homes.
This is the crab bomb, the famed house specialty at Jerry's Seafood in Bowie. Along with a platter of scallops and a tip, it's an $82 dinner. The exact dinner Prince George's County School Board member Virginia Jacobs used her taxpayer-funded credit card to buy in August 2013 for a meeting with a fellow board member for a talk about the district's summer school program. One of about 40 times Jacobs swiped her county-issued credit card for meals in and around Prince George's County in the past year and a half. Her expense receipts obtained by the I-team show more than $2,400 worth of restaurant meal expenses by Jacobs. A $95 dinner at McCormick and Schmick's for a meeting on professional development, and a $185 dinner at the restaurant in February, too, with two board colleagues about the district's budget.
I just wonder why it's needed.
Juanita Miller is a longtime district resident who says the meetings could have been held without the food and the expenses.
That's something that could go towards workshops or community outreach.
One of Virginia Jacobs' most frequent meal meeting partners, her fellow board member Carolyn Boston, who the I-team discovered used her own card to buy about 80 dinners, lunches, and breakfasts at local restaurants on the taxpayer's dime in the past year and a half. Seafood, desserts, buffets, sometimes for meetings with her fellow board members, sometimes all alone.
I'm Scott with Channel 4. Do you have a moment for us?
We caught up with Ms. Boston before a board meeting.
In some cases, you're eating by yourself at Old Town Inn without a meeting guest. Is that the best way to use taxpayer dollars?
If I'm down here and I'm here all day long for meetings and I need to have lunch, I can use the card for that purpose.
Even if by yourself?
Even if by myself, I am entitled to eat.
Hey, ma'am. I'm Scott with Channel 4.
When we caught up with Ms. Jacobs, she told us the meal meetings are important.
You meet with each other, and taxpayers pick up the tab. So close to home, so close to the office.
We also meet with constituents, and we meet with other board members from different areas.
But other board members charged far fewer meals to taxpayers, a few dozen total between the rest of them.
But our investigation found only some of their expenses were meals. We found they also spent taxpayer money right here, the National Harbor Westin Hotel in Oxon Hill,
where taxpayers recently provided several overnight hotel rooms for a board member retreat, $200 a night a room. The district's general fund paid for the room, but Jacobs and board member Sabrina Epps used their credit cards for valet parking at the hotel. A district spokeswoman tells us those expenses are allowed and that the district spent money for local hotel rooms because meetings began early and ended late. We found more than $10,000 was spent on the two most recent board retreats at National Harbor, including the overnight hotel rooms, at a hotel that's in the same county and is a 25-minute drive from the district's offices. Taxpayers also footed the bill when Virginia Jacobs reserved a $230 a night hotel room at the Washington, D.C. Hilton in Northwest in March for a conference 37 minutes from the board's offices. The district told us Jacobs is now seeking reimbursement for taxpayers from the group that staged the conference.
They could have caught Metro, just requires getting up early, and if in fact it requires being out late, then make arrangements to catch a cab.
District policy puts no limits on the cost of meals or hotel rooms for which board members can charge taxpayers. It puts an overall $7,000 yearly cap on overall expenses for each board member.
Is the system working?
Well, I think that there's always room for looking at what can be improved. That's always the case. And as board members, we have a responsibility to our taxpayers to do that.
A district spokeswoman told me this about the credit cards. The board's chair has requested the Office of Internal Audit to revisit policies and guidelines to clarify any ambiguous language. This in no way implies the board members have used their credit cards inappropriately. Scott MacFarlane, News 4 I-team.
There could be action in Annapolis after an I-team investigation. News 4 has learned that Maryland state legislators are going to consider a law stripping Prince George's County School Board members of their credit cards. This decision comes on the heels of an investigation by Scott MacFarlane that revealed controversial expenses by some of those board members. Scott has an update.
Some board members swipe their government-issued credit cards for thousands of dollars in dinners and lunches, including meals with each other, steak and seafood included.
And our investigation found some board members using their cards for overnight stays at hotel rooms that were just minutes from home while attending meetings or conferences. Prince George's County Executive Rashawn Baker said he found the expenses, quote, disturbing. And now state delegates from the county are supporting this new bill, which would require the district cut up the cards starting July 1st, 2016, and instead use vouchers and a reimbursement system to cover expenses.
One person can ruin it for the rest of them. And if, in fact, we are concerned, we have to look at our concerns and do something about it. And that's why I think that there is no need to have credit cards.
The school board's president recently told News 4 there were no violations of law or district policy in the board's credit card expenses, and he also ordered a review of those credit card policies. Though he said it would be complete by the end of November, that review has not yet been released. No one is saying this bill is likely to be passed into law necessarily, but we do know it's been pre-filed, already drafted, already submitted, which means this bill to strip board members' credit cards could be among the first to get a formal hearing here when the legislature reconvenes next month. In Annapolis, Scott MacFarlane, News 4.
Montgomery County Public Schools are considering sweeping changes in how and on what their board members can spend taxpayer money. The district is under new scrutiny because of a series of expenses made by board members with government-issued credit cards. The I-Team's Scott MacFarlane got 1,500 pages of school board receipts. He joins us now with details. Scott?
Hey, Jim, you serve on the Montgomery County Public School Board. It's a part-time job, and you earn $18,500 a year. But you get a government-issued, taxpayer-funded credit card, too. And critics are questioning how some board members have been using some of those cards. At least 2 county school board members swiped their cards for individual rooms at a $231 a night hotel in February, a Hilton, while attending an education conference. But it was the Washington Hilton on Connecticut Avenue Northwest, near home, just a 28-minute metro ride on the Red Line from the stop near school district headquarters in Rockville. Those board members, Rebecca Smondrowski and Christopher Barclay, defended getting the room, saying the conference events went into the night. And Smondrowski said she would have otherwise had to make a long commute from her Montgomery County home back to the hotel the next morning. Kathy Gambrell is the mother of a 5th grader.
Our students need so much and aren't getting all of the resources that they need. It's something that they need to think about before they pull that card out of their pockets.
Our review of county school board credit card receipts found more than 130 meals purchased by board members, including at brew pubs and Starbucks runs. A county school board panel meeting publicly today says it'll formally recommend the district prohibit board members from using their government cards for local hotels, and will recommend a cap on meal expenses, too.
The board realized that there was a need for clarity, that it's been a long time since they reviewed their policies and procedures around this area, and they thought it was a good time for them to be looking at it.
And the school superintendent has asked for a review of how administrators use their cards, too.
Among the changes the board is considering for its own members, no more using taxpayer-funded credit cards for hotel rooms within 50 miles of Rockville. Scott MacFarlane, News 4 IT.
I am very sensitive to the toll that all of this is taking on the institution and taking on my colleagues, and for that I am truly sorry.
Says Chris Barclay, a board member who used his card, taxpayer money, for dozens and dozens of meals at restaurants near district headquarters, and for a hotel room and room service at the Washington Hilton, a 30-minute metro ride from the office. And who, along with other board members and the board president, shared a $500 taxpayer-funded dinner in Ocean City, first revealed by the News 4 I-Team. It included lobster tail, surf and turf, and sea bass. After the spending revelations, the board promised reforms.
And it's unanimous.
And tonight voted unanimously to immediately cut up their cards and cut back on travel expenses, too.
Hey, Mr. Kaufman.
We tracked down the board president after the vote.
How did we get to the point where the board had to cut up its own credit cards?
We got to the point where we decided that we didn't need credit cards. And we decided that the best thing to go ahead with is to not have boards have credit cards for the board.
Some parents told us the part-time board members who earn $18,500 a year should have known not to whine and dine.
There should be money in the budget for school supplies first, for what the teachers need in the classroom, and the parties and the lunches should come later.